What's up, guys? We have podcast number 5. I'm Jake, and I'm with my other co host, Jake. We are going to go over some news in the crypto space, as there's always a lot to cover. We're going to go over Ethereum, over ZK Sync, and we are going to eat some delicious cheese curds. I do want to say anything in this podcast is not financial advice and it is only for educational purposes only. So let's get this thing started.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jake. Thank you for joining me tonight. I am here with your lightning crypto news. In Ukraine, President Zelensky, signed into law that crypto in their country is now legal. So it has now legal tender. In Illinois, a bill has been going through to allow its tax department to accept crypto payments. It has gone through the House and it is now at the Senate. Magic Eden, one of the largest NFT marketplaces for Solana, which is a blockchain, with over $736 million in total volume traded since its launch, has secured another $27 million for staff expansion. The EU Parliament votes against proof of work ban at the beginning of the week, but then backtracks and reverses their idea because crypto is coming and decides against it. More and more companies are going to be repping NFTs as their pictures on Twitter. One of them that was just changed was Shopify, and I know for a fact I've talked about Walmart in the past, and only more companies are going to continue the trend. Gaming NFTs will be bigger than Twitch. I quote from the co-founder of Twitch, which is Justin Kahn. Coming from the Twitch co-founder, that's probably a big deal. In 2021, so this is going back a little farther because we're now in 2022, but in 2021, Visa moved $10.4 trillion in payments, and Ethereum moved $11.6 trillion in payments. I think that's an interesting statistic because crypto was still very much in its infant stages in terms of adoption last year. Very interesting to think about. Ethereum is what we're talking about later today. Over $1.8 billion has joined the space overall in terms of just money being added to the crypto space just last week, which is 36% more from the previous week. Those subscribed to Coinbase have an opportunity to join an alpha/beta to have no trading fee if they are a subscriber. Lots of things usually charge you still, so I think that's going to be a really cool option for those individuals that use Coinbase. Over 12,000 open crypto jobs have been set about on the internet for people to apply to this last week, which is awesome. In El Salvador, they are looking to launch a specific Bitcoin bond that is just Bitcoin. Kevin O'Leary, one of the Shark Tank investors that I've talked about before, said that 20% of his assets are now in crypto and blockchains. Previously, I believe it was 10%. Partnerships in crypto that happened this week: Stripe, Visa, State Street, GameStop, MasterCard, BNY, and Mellon. All of them some sort of financial entity except for GameStop. They're memes. Mila Kunis, we all know her. I love her from That 70s Show and a lot of other things. She is currently working on her second NFT series that will feature washed up WWE wrestlers trying to work their way back to the spotlight. She called it South Park meets WWE. They're going to have their own storylines. You're going to be able to wrestle against each other. I think that's very interesting. Her first NFT series sold out in 20 minutes. Digital Funds, which is another financial entity, has filed for its first ETF that is seeking exposure and limited access to Bitcoin on the S&P 500 index. Binance is officially expanding to Dubai after they were granted a virtual asset license. That has not been done yet. That is the first crypto exchange that is going to be allowed to operate in Dubai. The Binance is the Chinese exchange that is used. FTX was also granted a specific thing in Dubai, a contract specifically in relation to operating with large clients, so a little bit lesser than what Binance was given. Despite rate hikes and Ukrainian conflicts, stocks and altcoins have spiked as Bitcoin has remained relatively stagnant between 2 points. Consensus, which is a leading Ethereum blockchain company because one of the founders is very, very closely related to Ethereum as a whole, has raised around $450 million to onboard more talent and continue accelerating the Web3 adoption across the web. The Web 2 probably is what I assume. Instagram is looking to integrate NFTs as soon as possible onto their platform, per the Zuck. Visa said back in August 2021, going back again, said that they envision a future where your crypto address is as important as your mailing address. It came up again during this week. I thought that was interesting. They reiterated it. They actually reposted it, which is awesome. I know for a fact that that's probably going to be a thing later on because my co-host here is a mailman and he tells me everything that I know. Jpmorgan Chase becomes the first bank to enter the metaverse. The metaverse, in terms of what they're entering, is going to be Decentraland or Mana, and they are going to have a virtual lounge. DraftKings, the gigantic sports betting app, launched its first NFT collection, which was centered around March Madness this week. Coinbase holds around $137 billion for crypto institutions. That was in 2021. I said they hold that now. It's definitely more now. But that was a 204% increase from the $45 billion held in 2020. So I'm very curious to see how much they're going to hold after the end of this year. Nike purchased a NFT company that is also a shoe company that makes NFTs. I said that already, but makes NFTs of sneakers for whatever metaverse they want to join. So they're looking to make shoes for the metaverse that they want to join, whatever metaverse that they choose. The Coinbase wallet added support for specific Solana project tokens with DeFi app and NFT support coming soon. And last but not least, we have Meta, formerly known as Facebook, is planning to spend over $10 billion per year on metaverse projects. If that doesn't get you going in the space, knowing that Facebook decided that they wanted to put their face on metaverse, I don't know what's going to get you in. Regardless, thank you very much. This is Jake with Lightning News. We're going to talk about Ethereum. We're going to talk about ZK Sync. My co host here, Jake, is going to get you guys going. Thank you very much, and we'll talk soon.
Hello and shalom. What's up, guys? This is Jake. I'm here to talk about Ethereum and ZK Sync for you guys. So, what is Ethereum? Ethereum is a community run technology that is powered by the native currency ETH. So, unlike Bitcoin, Ethereum was designed to be a programmable currency. Bitcoin that is a store of value to relative currencies. So, what can Ethereum do? It can run smart contracts, which a smart contract essentially is a digital deed or a digital transfer of ownership. So you hear a lot about NFTs and where that comes into place is through smart contracts. When a transaction takes place on the blockchain, you sign a transaction and it's considered yours. So there's no replicas or any duplicates. Once you buy something on the blockchain, it's yours and it's not replicable. What else is Ethereum designed to do besides smart contracts? Well, one important thing they can do is open banking for everybody. Anybody can access Ethereum as long as they have internet connection, which will be made more prevalent through satellites and Elon Musk with Starlink. So that's interesting to see with blockchain and how that could develop when more people get access to internet. It's also censorship resistant, so no government or company has control over it. It is owned by Vitalik Buterin, who started it, but essentially how the blockchain is programmed is anybody can use it and anybody can partake in it. Some cons of Ethereum that we saw more prevalently happen throughout the last year is its scalability issues. It had high congestion, but there's been a few upgrades that have taken place since then to help improve the network and allow it to scale. The major upgrade that took place in 2021, the initial one was called the London Hard Fork, which introduced EIP 1559, which aimed to increase mining speed and also added tokenomics with their burning mechanism. So every time transactions of people buying Ethereum, some Ethereum is burned. This helps lower the congestion on the network. The next upgrade that took place was called the Berlin Hard Fork. This introduced four EIPs, also known as Ethereum Improvement Proposals. So these four proposals that were introduced by the Berlin Hard Fork again sought after to lower the gas associated with complex transactions. You might be asking yourself, what is gas? Well, gas is, I like to think about it when you use an ATM, there is a transaction fee. because what takes place is when your transaction moves across the network, there is some storage and data that has to be moved. But when there's a lot of people bogging down the network on the blockchain, those gas fees increase. So when we had the bull run this last year, 2021, there was tons of retail and other people making transactions, which resulted in higher fees and transaction costs. The main upgrade that a lot of people are waiting for is called ETH 2.0. What they're doing in 2.0 is moving from proof of work to proof of stake. Proof of stake uses randomly selected miners to validate transactions, while proof of work uses a specific validation method to confirm transaction and new blocks that are added to the blockchain. I like to just think of this as proof of stake with their miners. It's a lot easier and less complex to understand transactions that are taking place, while proof of work, those miners need to do multiple set of data reads in order to understand if the transaction is good or malicious. So what's better? Proof of work involves heavy cost of equipment and energy to run it. You maybe have seen some of the mining rigs that Bitcoin has. A lot of those are pretty intensive and involves high computational power and a lot of graphics cards and cooling mechanisms in order to keep them running. Well, proof of stake, cost of coins. So in order to keep the tokenomics low and the coin cost, you have to have some mechanism in order to keep the number of tokens deflationary. So with the EIP 1559, Ethereum has a burning mechanism that keeps the supply deflationary. So what's better? Proof of work wins on security but loses on the need for high energy and computational power. With the Ethereum 2.0, you are moving from proof of work to proof of stake, which will help to lower the computational needs and the energy required in order to keep the network secure. So, to recap, what is Ethereum? Ethereum, as opposed to Bitcoin, uses smart contracts and works more in the DeFi space with decentralized finance. Bitcoin, why it was originally designed, was for a reserve currency, where Ethereum was designed for a programmable blockchain. So that includes, like I said, smart contracts, and we see the rise of NFTs, gaming, and involves more of that. ETH has had some roadblocks when it comes to scaling and congestion and high gas fees. They have been introducing multiple hard forks and EIPs in order to tackle and aim at lowering the gas associated with transactions. The major upgrade coming that you can look for is Ethereum 2.0. Currently on Ethereum 2.0, there's 10 million locked already waiting for the beacon chain. Once everything's all integrated, you could see a future where Ethereum gas fees are very low and people enjoying Metaverse, NFTs, in the digital space with no costs associated to make transactions. How else can Ethereum scale? Well, there's been multiple blockchains that have aimed to reduce the scalability. Ethereum is a layer 1 blockchain, which in essence, layer 1 is the base layer of the protocol. What I'm going to talk about next is ZK Sync. It is a layer 2. Layer 2 is a blockchain built on top of layer 1. With another blockchain being built on top of the base layer, it can pull those transactions away from the original layer and solve those transactions without clogging down the main layer. So what is ZK Sync? ZK Sync uses technology called rollups. Basically, a rollup is compounding multiple transactions into one block so it can reduce the necessary gas to perform multiple transactions. It uses what's called ZK Snarks, which was first developed by Matter Labs in 2020. With the power of ZK Sync and this rollup technology, you can take Ethereum from millions to potentially billions of users. So not only can the network scale to where it is currently, but it can scale to the complete masses. ZK Sync is the first EVM compatible ZK rollup. EVM stands for Ethereum Virtual Machine. If a blockchain is EVM compatible, it just means that it can read the language that Ethereum is used and designed with. This EVM compatibility is what allows it to make transactions between layer 1 and layer 2. So when you go on ZK Sync, you are able to deposit your Ethereum in there and convert it from layer 1 into layer 2. And on layer 2, you can move any other ERC20, which is any crypto built off of the Ethereum blockchain, and sell or make transactions with it for zero cost, or very minimal cost, I should say. This functionality makes it much easier for everyday users to be able to enjoy Ethereum and its NFTs and everything involved in the space. As more transactions take place on layer 2, this completely reduces the congestion on layer 1, allowing the main layer of Ethereum to work properly like it should. The main premise of ZK Sync is to make a DEX or a decentralized exchange that you can deposit your Ethereum into and buy other cryptos that are EVM compatible for minimal gas. This is a revolutionary technology that again is powered by ZK rollups. ZK reduces the computing and storage resources for validating the blocks by reducing the amount of data held in a transaction. Zero knowledge of the entire data is needed. All this while keeping high security and making transactions off of the blockchain more accessible. There are many other projects like zkSync. One of the main ones is Polygon Matic, where it takes a lot of the congestion from Ethereum. The other ones that I can mention are Starknet, Starkware, Immutable X. All of these working in unison with some different technologies involved will bring Ethereum to its true glory. I can envision Ethereum in its final state, all of these working together and keeping the main transactions away from the layer 1, allowing seamless and interchangeable blockchain connectivity. The last thing I'll add about ZK Sync is right now Ethereum can do about 5,000 transactions per second. With ZK Sync, they say they can bring it up to 20,000 transactions per second. So that's going to be very interesting to see how it all works out once they're up and running. I don't think the full release is scheduled until late May, is last I saw. Right now, ZK Sync is still in the demo version, and the final version of the blockchain will be accessible to the public in about a month or two, is my guess. Now that you guys learned a little bit about Ethereum and ZK Sync, I think it's time for me and Jake to enjoy some cheese curds as we just worked up a pretty hard appetite for some cheese.
Thank you for joining us this far to the Curds and Crypto podcast hosted by Jake and Jake. We appreciate your time. We are on to the section now for the curd section of the Curds and Crypto podcast, where we're going to be judging some cheese curds that we currently have gotten from the Milwaukee Burger Company down the road. Jake, right here, picked them up on his way over to my house to record the podcast. We have consolidated the list of judges. We thought 6 was too many, so we're going to break it down into 4. The first one we have here is going to be mouthfeel.
The second one will be breading,
The third one will be freshness feel.
and the fourth one will be the inner cheese.
The inner cheese. Don't worry, we looked into each other's eyes and we realized we were a little confused. Number 4 is inner cheese, like Jake said, and number 5 is going to be taste. So I thought we were cutting it to 4, but we're actually keeping it at 5. So 5, not 4. So in terms of the mouthfeel, I'm gonna go first on this one. I think that the mouthfeel overall was probably like a 3 for me. I think that the cheese was not as hyped up as it could have been, but the overall feel of the cheese curd as a whole was at least a 3 for me.
I really enjoyed the feel in my mouth. Just the overall feeling, I'm gonna give it a 4.
You're gonna give it a 4. I respect that. I think that mine was really based on the fact that I just love cheese and there wasn't enough of it. But we'll talk about that later. So the second one here we have is breading. So I thought the breading was phenomenal. I think that was the best part of the
Good
cheese
breading.
curd. It was good breading, flat out. I'm going to give the breading a 5, Jake.
I'm gonna give the breading a 5 as well. It reminded me of that classic Wisconsin fish fry breading.
That's very true. It did have that fish fry feel. So freshness feel after fish fry feel. That's a tongue twister. Freshness feel, I'm going to give it probably a 4, I would say, because granted it came out of a deep fryer, so freshness is kind of a subjective thing there. But freshness feel, I'm going to give it a 4 because it was good. I liked the breading, and it was enjoyable to eat.
Freshness feel for me, I'm gonna go with a 4.
That's fair, Jake. That's fair. Number 4, we're going to have inner cheese. So this is where my rating is going to go down. I thought the cheese was subpar. I think that they could have added more. When I bit into the breading, half of it was bread. I was very disappointed in that. I'm going to give the inner cheese, not for taste. I thought the taste was totally acceptable, which is why I'm going to give it a 2 instead of a 1.
A 1?
A 2 instead of a 1.
A 2 instead
Yeah,
of
a
a
2
1.
instead of a 1 for the simple fact that the cheese did taste just fine, but it didn't have enough of it.
The inner cheese to me, when you finish the whole curd in one bite, wasn't terrible, but I will give it a 3.
You will give it a 3. You know, that's the thing. I'm more of a biter when it comes to big cheese curds, and this thing was fucking huge, so I really didn't want to shove
Was
the
a
whole
big
thing in my
curd.
mouth. It was a big curd. So I think they did us dirty by making it so huge, but not filling out the cheese on the inside. What's the last one?
The last one is taste. The best for last.
What do you got?
Well, I'm gonna go with a drum roll, please. 4.3.
4.3, ladies and gentlemen. 4.3. We're doing decimals again. 4.3. I think that's a pretty high rating. I think that's a pretty high
It was
rating
good.
for that. It
I
was good.
enjoyed
It
it.
was good. It was a good cheese curd. It had its moments. I'm gonna have to give it a 3.5. I'm gonna have to give it a 3.5. That cheese really brought it down for me, man. And when you look at ratios and you do the fake math in your head, I think 2.5 to a 3, or did I say 2.5? No, I meant 3.5. Yes, I gave it a 3.5. So 3.5, I think is fair for me. There are other cheese curds out there that I do like better. That's pretty much it for our Curd section of the Curds and Crypto podcast. We're going to move right into the section where we are going to discuss, as a whole, as a group of two people, the Ethereum, and I don't know where I'm going with this. You want to help me out?
You want to look at the Ethereum scalability,
Keep going.
all the addressed issues, the overall where you can see it in the future,
Yeah, I have stuff on
where
this
its
list.
current standing is.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. So we're going to move on, and we're going to talk about that. So I'm going to ask you some questions. I think that that's going to be our best bet. Feel free to
Oh,
ask me questions if I don't know. I
gonna
might.
put me on the spot.
Yeah, I'll put you on the spot a little bit. So as a whole, what do you think, or what do you like better for the future? Ethereum, Solana, AVAX, or Near?
To be honest, I've said to you this analogy, and I'm gonna say it again. In its current form, I'm not the biggest Ethereum fan. If I were to choose one today, I would pick AVAX. But in terms of a multi chain future with high security, I consider the analogy like Visa, MasterCard, any credit union. It won't matter as much which one you pick, there'll be added incentives for each one. But I could envision the overall space having multiple layer ones
With layer twos on top.
with layer twos and or whatever they use to scale.
So eventually, a couple layer ones are going to say, well, we're boss ass bitches. We're going to be the Visa and MasterCards of the crypto space.
Yeah, they'll be predominantly like the major ones. Not all the ones you see today are going to stay, but there's going to be a few major ones, and the rest are just like some small branch local bank. So if you want to use it, it's not going to give you nearly all those added bonuses that you get with a big branch.
I could see that. I agree. I think that eventually there's going to be. I mean, players have to emerge, right? Big players have to emerge. They won't not. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time on who it's going to be. It's going to be hard for them, for at least one of them, not to be Ethereum. I would think, because it's the first major blockchain that you can build on. All of these offshoots and other projects on other blockchains are just following the script of Ethereum, but a lot of them are just doing different things better.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Do you think there's such thing as something that's too big to fail?
Ooh, that's hard. that really relates then to like PR and like if anything happens and who's integrated in the space and how much they can fuck up. So Ethereum probably is at that point as too big to fail.
Like, people will not let it die.
Yeah, it won't die.
There's too much money to say we're
But
just gonna give up.
remember when you brought up Wonder? Do you remember that? Wonder the that project that had a whole bunch of people integrated into it, and they were playing in the space, and then bad PR came out and it fucking tanked. Don't you remember when you talked
Oh,
about
are you
that?
talking about like Olympus?
Am I talking about Olympus? Is that Olympus that I'm talking about?
Well, there has been cryptos that have been very big that have basically capitulated almost into non-existence.
Which I doubt will happen to Ethereum, but could it tank it to a specific level if some bad PR, like real bad shit comes out that somebody integrated into the space did something? Sure. I think that anything's possible with the media nowadays.
Yeah,
That's
I think as long as it has some still strong backers with all that going down the tank, which it will, I don't think you'll ever see the complete demise.
I agree. So I have another one for you here. Do you own any Ethereum currently?
Currently, no, but I do own some Ethereum NFTs.
Uh-huh. So talk to me about that.
I own a Parallel NFT, which is a trading card game. I believe that's it. I'm trying to think.
Do you remember what's on your wallet? Or have you just not looked at it? Because I know you told me earlier that the parallel that you have, there's some of them going for over $5,000, and you bought it for 600.
Yeah, I minted it at 0.3, which is like $500, $600.
Yeah,
I think that's the only NFT I have, as sad
for
as that
Ethereum.
is. Yeah, I held Ethereum all of last year. Have switched my bias a little bit, but I'm definitely not giving up. I will be buying more in the near future here.
If anyone was curious, I do currently own Ethereum. I have owned Ethereum for a while because I am staking it on Coinbase for Ethereum 2.0. It has been staked for almost a year now.
I mentioned that there's over $10 million locked on 2.0 right now for stakers.
It's not a lot. It's only about $400, but $400 is $400. Most of my NFTs are in Solana. Solana NFTs. I do not own any Ethereum NFTs. I told you this before, but obviously our listeners do not know. I do not like Ethereum NFTs because they cost a lot in terms of energy consumption. Solana on the flippity flop does not. For example, Ethereum takes up to 8 to 9 households in terms of electricity and energy consumption to mint a single NFT versus Solana, which minting an NFT costs less than 2 transactions on a Google search.
That's why moving to Ethereum 2.0 is so important, because that will moving from proof of work to proof of stake will use less computational power in order to run those transactions.
Which will be big. I mean, regardless, everything, we're so early on everything that there's so much happening. It's and so much noise overall in the crypto space that it's really easy to miss shit that's happening on blockchains. Like all of a sudden somebody could just crawl out of the woodworks and take over because they did XYZ.
Mm. A lot of people are banking on that 2.0 upgrade.
So hopefully it works. So I wanted to bring up ZK Sync one more time. One thing that we didn't touch on were airdrops. So I know that we might be able to get an airdrop soon here. Did you touch on that?
I did not touch on airdrops. If you're wondering how to involve yourself with airdrops or get them, I know we talked about in podcast one. If you want to see how a service works, just go start messing with it. Deposit maybe even $10 onto ZK Sync and just try testing out what product and service they offer. And you can do that with multiple blockchains and see whether or not you like the product, and then ultimately invest into it.
Do you think out of the players that you brought up earlier, Starknet, Starkware, Immutable X, ZK Sync, all of those, who's going to be the biggest one?
To me, probably ZK Sync, because it offers the most compatibility and has the highest ZK rollup technology to current market and the highest allowed transactions per second. Next, probably Starknet, because I saw recently they had an upgrade for something with composability, but I don't know the full gist of
You don't know
it.
the full gist of it, but
No.
whenever news comes out,
And then
yeah.
I will say for gaming, probably Immutable X when it comes to scaling, or Polygon. Polygon and Immutable X, I kind of think of them more in scaling terms of Ethereum as more game based, but that's just maybe my.
Well, I'm glad you chose all of them. Moving on. Moving on. Do you have a favorite Ethereum project, or are you just not too much involved in Ethereum because you're very much into AVAX right now?
My favorite is probably Shiba Inu. Nah, I'm just kidding. Maybe Floki? No, my favorite Ethereum ERC20, probably ZK Sync. I know we're talking about it so much.
That's why we're talking about it.
That's one reason why we're talking about it. Next, probably something in the metaverse like Illuvium. I still have high hopes for it.
I think Illuvium is going to be big. You just got to wait. I mean, you already locked your balance. You can't do shit about
Only
it.
staking it for an entire year.
Yeah,
So.
you can't really do anything about it anymore. So, just like Solana, me integrated into the Solana space, Ethereum also has domains called Ens Servers. Can you explain those a little bit? Do you have any background on that?
Yeah, ENS Domains is Ethereum name service. So in Web3, the main difference between Web 2 and Web 3 is that you can bring your domain into your own possession, like into a wallet, where it doesn't just exist on a public website. You have more ownership over Web3, and there's not as much say into what those people can do with your domain.
You know, the domains have a variety of different functions too. I know for a fact that Solana domains allow you to do peer-to-peer transfer of money by just sending it from domain to domain, so address to address. I know that it is going to shortly allow you to, if not today, this happened on Solana, to stake slash make your domain name on Solana's domain service, which is Bonfida, and you can stake it as an NFT. I thought that was very interesting.
In the future, with your domain name, if you want somebody to pay you, you can just tell them your domain name, and it will send right into your wallet, your crypto wallet.
Yeah, and you're done. I believe you have to claim it. Make sure you claim it, because if you don't claim it and you sell it, then that money's still on there. You got to claim it.
Make sure to claim it.
Claim it. Always claim it. Do you have anything else about Ethereum that you want to talk about? I don't have anything else on my list. This is kind of just whatever else you got. Is there anything that you really want to bring up?
The last thing I'll say is I envision a future with Ethereum, whether it's not currently in its final form, whether it takes 1 year or 5 years from now. I see ETH 2.0 getting the upgrade needed and collecting the masses for true mass adoption in the smart contract NFT gaming space.
I think that's pretty much it for us, eh?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here. I will give the closing remarks to my gentleman Jake here.
You've listened to podcast number 5 with your hosts Jake and Jake and the Curds Crypto podcast. I hope you all have a fantastic night.
We love you all. Thank you very much.